Hi, friends, and welcome back to Crafting for Profit Live, the podcast. So, today's topic is a tough one, but something that anyone online is going to face. So, we're going to chat about haters and how to handle them.
Gosh, I'm already like, oh, this episode. So, as your business grows, you will find more people online, but that also means you're going to find more opinions. You may get comments like, this is too expensive, or you might even get personal attacks. So, we're going to cover the practical tools as well as different mindset changes that you can make to face these bullies with a smile on your face.
Negative comments can hurt your confidence and maybe even your sales. So, your response strategy can mean the difference between gaining customers or losing them. So, be sure to listen to this whole episode because we're going to give you our best advice and share some of our own personal stories as well, which that's going to hurt a little bit.
It's going
So,
to hurt a lot.
it's going to hurt. We're going to share some personal stories.
All right. So, as always, this episode is pre recorded. If you're watching the YouTube during the premiere, we are over in the chat answering your questions and just hanging out. If you have other questions below the YouTube video and in the podcast notes, we have a form that you can fill out and ask us any questions related to this or related to anything else.
All right. So, we're going to dive in. We're just going in head first here. So, we're going to
I
talk
don't think I'm
first.
ready.
First of all, let's start light. We're going to talk about just understanding online negativity itself. So, the types of negative comments that you might face as a crafter. So, you can face trolls. And these people, they're just looking to provoke you. Just keep that in mind. You can also face those people like Corey was saying, basically cheap shaming. So, I can get this at Target for half the price. Why should I pay you that much? Style preference hate, just like, I don't like that. Why did you use that color? Those type of comments. And there is constructive criticism out there. It's often poorly delivered, or it's just when you're online, the tone of voice doesn't come across and you read it in a different tone of voice than perhaps that they meant it to be in. So it can be constructive, but you might not read it that way.
All right. So, why do people lash out online? So, a lot of this is for the trolls, but for some of these other ones as well. The first one is the anonymity effect, right? People feel hidden behind a screen. So, they would say things that they would never say to your face. And those things can be really hurtful. The second one is projection. So they often need to unload their own frustrations, their own jealousies, their insecurities onto others to make themselves feel better. There's also this comparison culture that we live in where seeing others succeed, seeing you grow your business can trigger envy or resentment or making them feel bad about themselves. And so they feel the need to lash out. Then we have this sort of perceived power. So leaving a mean comment can give somebody that sort of false, sense of control or of importance. There's also this negativity bias that we see all the time online where we are just hardwired to focus on the negative, which sucks. So, the critical voices are probably just louder than the supportive voices. There's also, of course, attention seeking. This happens all the time online. Some trolls just crave a reaction. They love it when people get upset. It's their way of getting noticed, even if it is really icky to the rest of us. And then there's also just dehumanization, which just interacting with somebody through screens. People forget that there's a person on the other end. We forget that we're all humans dealing with other humans. And so because that dehumanization happens, people just think they can say whatever they want.
We list all of these so you'll understand a little better where some of these haters, bullies, they're bullies, frankly, are coming from when they attack you online. I feel like understanding a little bit helps me with this next mindset shift portion, just kind of understanding where people come from and sort of where that negativity is based at within their dehumanization.
And that's not none of these are excuses. They are not excuses for people's behavior. We have both dealt with some really horrible people online, and I am not excusing any of that behavior just because, we have a negativity bias or something like that. These are not excuses. They're just letting you know that these are some reasons why people act out online.
First, let's talk about mindset shifts. So, we're going to talk about protecting your creative energy. First thing is your craft isn't meant for everyone. There are going to be people that don't like it. Now, do they need to vocalize that on your posts? Absolutely not. But as we've already covered, some people can't help it. So there are going to be people that just don't understand your craft. They don't like it. They wouldn't use it, perhaps. There are going to be those people that just what you have is not for them. And that is okay as far as you are concerned. Them vocalizing that probably isn't okay, but it is okay that your craft isn't meant for them.
So, there's the saying that goes around that says you can't please everybody. You are not a pizza, right? Your audience is not everybody. So you need to focus on your real customers, the real people you're speaking to, the people that love your stuff. By focusing on, you know, the hater, which honestly is very easy to do, and we have both done it. So we're not saying this is easy by any stretch. Um, but when you focus on the people who love your products, when you focus on making products that will make their lives better, make their lives happier, make great gift giving opportunities, whatever it might be, focusing on those people instead of on the one person who called you out on something online is going to just like shift your focus back to what it should be focused on versus concentrating on the person that is, leaving a mean comment.
And then you can reframe this negativity into something positive. The first way to do this is we said this at the beginning, the more people you reach, the more opinions you're going to get. So this is proof that you are reaching outside of your normal circle. You are reaching these people. Now, are they negative people? They might be, but you are reaching outside. So you are doing a portion of this handmade business thing right. And the other thing I like to reframe it as a negative comment is still on social media, it is still interaction with that post. And the algorithms love some interaction. So I often like to reframe it in my mind as, boy, that post is getting a lot of interaction.
It's also really helpful if you are, building up a rapport with your true customers. A lot of times those people will come to your rescue and it will give even more engagement. And yeah, it's not a bad thing, even though it might hurt your heart for a little bit. So here's an exercise that you can do. I have this. It is one of the most helpful things I have done. I have gone and basically screenshotted all the positive customer responses I've ever gotten. Maybe not all of them at this point because I have a lot on Etsy. But on my website, I have a thing I call the wall of wins. And it's basically just screenshots of everybody who have loved my products. So I do that for Hey, Let's Make Stuff. I should probably do that for Chapter and Craft as well. But on really bad days, sometimes I'll just go stare at like all of these nice things people have said to me because I'm like, okay, this person said, my voice is the most annoying thing they've ever heard. However, I've got this giant page of people who have really, really loved my products. And so a lot of times like that can offset like that one bad comment that you get.
And you can often do that. Say you get the negative comment, you can go look at all these positive comments you've gotten and then come back and decide on how to deal with the negative comment. Because if you put some positivity in between those two actions, it often helps my mindset a little bit. So instead of just negativity, insert that positivity into it and then go back and deal with the negative comment, hopefully in a more positive mindset.
Yeah. So how do we respond? Without just crying into our pillows or being like, Angie, oh my gosh, can you believe what this person said? Or flaming back with just some sort of inflammatory response, which I have done. And I wouldn't say that's not a never thing to do. Every once in a while, somebody will comment something that's just like, I'm not holding back. But what are some things we can do? So first up, we can ignore or we can delete. Now, are these things easy to do? No. Because the second you delete it, you're going to come up with the best response you have ever come up with in your entire life. And you're going to be so mad you don't have it to respond to. But I swear that only happens if you actually delete it. You have to know when it's just not worth engaging. And that is when we're talking about trolls, people who come onto things to just cause a problem. A lot of times it's best to delete those. Just get them out and off your plate and just into a void where you can't see them anymore.
And deleting often reinforces for me that I am in charge of this space. I am in charge of what happens in the space. I'm in charge of what's said in the space. So I have the power to delete it. So always remember that you have the power to delete it, to block the person that is trolling you. So if they are leaving especially if they're leaving comments on multiple videos, multiple posts. Just go ahead and block them if that's what you feel is going to make you feel safe and make you feel better. Go ahead and block that profile.
I think Angie mentioned something really important here is that it is really easy, especially if you're a woman, to feel unsafe even online. And your safety comes first, right? If somebody is making a space unsafe for you, for example, I got some really credible threats on Twitter one time to my children, and I'm not going to repeat them here because they were heinous. um, I shut down my Twitter account. I just decided this is not worth it. And I made it private, and then I finally ended up deleting it because it was it made me feel so unsafe. And I hated to give that person that power. That person got me off the platform. However, my safety is more important to me. And the safety of my children is more important to me than anything that could have ever happened on Twitter. So you may have to make hard decisions if things get really bad. I tend to be, especially in that space, I tended to be less businessy and more just like my personal opinions. And something I said, which was completely innocuous, really triggered some horrible person to make some credible threats against my family. They started moving over to YouTube, and I was like, and I'm out of here. Just goodbye. And so I think at some point you just have to know when it's not worth engaging, especially when it comes to your safety.
So if you want to respond, things that you might want to respond to: price complaints, product comparisons, quality questions. Those are the type of things. So I'm not talking about the hate comments. The hate comments always fall into the ignore or delete pile for me generally. But if there are different types of actual questions and they may be phrased in a way that you're not happy with, but perhaps you want to respond to those. Responding politely with responses to those critiques are often helpful. And you can often come up with a generic response about your pricing, about your products, about your quality. So, some kind of generic, polite response. And a copy and paste is often way easier mentally for those comments. And then if they respond again, perhaps you need to take further action.
And I think sometimes, especially if it feels like it's not well intentioned, but you still want to answer it, kill them with kindness. Like sometimes it can just diffuse a situation where somebody's like, so I'll give a quick example here. I have an email sitting in my inbox that I need to deal with today, who somebody didn't get the password to my image library. This happens occasionally. She went off on how big of a scam my whole website is, how I'm a horrible person, how she's going to report me into all the groups because I'm just stealing email addresses. So I'm going to respond and say, wow, I'm really sorry you didn't get the password. This happens sometimes. I really wish you had just written me and asked me for it, but instead you had to become all inflammatory, and that's really frustrating for me. And then if she does sign up, I will probably block her. Because I don't want somebody, once I give her and I will give her the password, but once I give her the password, if she does sign up because it's through email, I'll probably block her because I don't need that negativity in my life. And the email I will write will be very calm, but you don't get to talk to me like that. This is my business. And I don't need to roll over, but I am going to write you a very polite, probably slightly condescending email about how if you had just been nice, this would have been taken care of really much more easier than this.
Especially with freebies. I'm like, you're not getting my freebies if you're not nice.
No.
Nope, not getting them. So you're going to be removed from the email platform. So yes, you can block email addresses as well from your email list. So that's a lesson that a lot of people don't realize. You can block IP addresses from your website. You can do a lot of blocking things for these people that you're like, okay, these people don't deserve any more of my energy. Just block them. They can't access it anymore.
Yeah. And is it petty? Maybe. Do I care? No. Like, I don't need your negativity. I'm trying to create a positive space. And here you are yelling at me for something where you could have written me just a nice email. Hey, for some reason, I'm not getting the email with the password. Can you help? Sure. I'm so happy to help. I am so happy to help. But if somebody is yelling at me that I'm a scam and they're going to spread my bad name all over the internet, yeah, goodbye. Like, there's just there's no way that I'm going to let them just continue to take advantage of what I have to offer.
And you mentioned something about creating a positive space, and that leads into our next point: is creating community guidelines. Especially if you have a Facebook group or something like that, make sure that you write and post clearly any community guidelines that you have. And be sure those include things about negativity, things about all these things that we're talking about, so that you have something to point them back to and say, hey, this is in the rules, and you can implement a one strike and you're out type of thing with your groups, or no strikes and you're out, depending. I mean, again, it's your space. It's you make the rules, you decide who's in there, and you decide who does and doesn't make you feel okay in that space.
I think another good thing you can do is highlight other people's positivity. I had someone recently who wrote to me and said they were so disappointed with one of my products. And she kept going on and on that she had spent Australian dollars. Like she was like, I spent 42 Australian dollars. And I'm like, well, that's 27 American dollars. That I do not control the exchange rate. But she was very unhappy with what she got for my product. However, I have hundreds of 5-star reviews on that product. I think that might be the only negative feedback I've ever received on that product. I gave her her money back. Go away. I don't care. Take your Australian dollars and go. But I could have also, like I think I did in my email, say, wow, you're the first person who has complained about this. As you can see here, I have hundreds of 5-star reviews. I am giving you a refund because at this point, it's not worth my energy to fight her. I probably give more refunds than I should on digital products, especially because they're digital. It's like ones and zeros. And I would rather give them back their money than fight online. But I think I linked to it and said, like, hey, I'm sorry you didn't like this product. However, look, everybody else was happy with it, just so she could see that she was in the minority. And for me, that kind of helped me both like, okay, most of the people like this. I don't know what your problem is.
Do we want to share like a few personal stories?
Okay.
Let's get to the bad part. So I'll start lighter weight and get heavier. How about that?
Okay.
So today I had a comment on a review video, and it was basically attacking my integrity and saying it wasn't an honest review and it was obviously paid. It wasn't at all. And I feel like comments like that, I go ahead and leave them up and I respond and say, yes, this is actually my honest opinion because of A, B, C, D. Like these are the facts that I stated in the video, and these are my honest opinion about those. Um, so those type of comments, I felt attacked by it because, and to me, that was attacking my integrity, which is very important on my YouTube channel. However, I wanted to leave it up to show people that, yes, in fact, it is an honest review, and here's why. So if anyone else had a question, that they would see that.
That's a good one. I had a guy, sorry, dudes. Why is it always a guy? Come on to my channel and critique my voice in a very unkind way. He basically made like a list of all the ways my voice sucked. He's like, you talk up, you have vocal fry, you have all of these things. Well, it happened right after I had read a book from Amanda Montell called Word Slut, which is quite the title for a book, but it talked about women's language and the policing of women's language and how men just as often talk up at the end of their sentences because that's just how a normal pattern of human speech is. Men have vocal fry. I mean, basically, it goes through like all of these stereotypes about women's voices that are actually not true. So I basically left it up and I said, thank you so much for the engagement. I highly recommend this book. It will teach you A, B, and C. But again, thank you for the engagement. And I left it up because I feel like one, I want other people to see what women deal with online in a lot of ways. And then two, I, at that time, had a really great response. I was like, look, here we go. So that was one that really got me and still bothers me sometimes when I'm thinking about my voice. I'm like, does my voice suck? I hope it doesn't.
So I'll tell you that I get language comments all the time because of my Southern accent. And I have changed what I say to avoid this comment. So if I say the word wash and I can't say it without an R, I can't do it. It's impossible unless I say it with a really weird accent. I can't say it without the R. I just can't. So in my videos, if you hear me say, run it through a laundry cycle, that's because I don't want the negative comments constantly on the post about the accent. But if I do get them, I leave them and I'll say something like, thank you for the great feedback on my Southern accent or something like that, just to leave it up. And I laugh about it now, but at first it was very hard for me to read that. because I would practice it in front of a mirror and I'm like, I can't take the R out. I physically cannot do it. So just know that there will be comments about the way you talk if you do videos. And it takes a lot to get over that. You're already at that point where you don't like your own voice. You don't like to hear your own voice. You don't want to record this video. And then someone is attacking the way you say a word because of your accent.
Yeah, it's very difficult in the beginning. It's very difficult, and we've been doing videos for years, to hear somebody attacking a immutable characteristic of you, right? One of the rules that we have in our family is that you shouldn't comment on somebody else's appearance unless they can change the thing about their appearance in under 5 seconds. So, hey, you spilled something on your shirt is something you can fix, right? Like, oh, I should fix that. Or maybe my hair is funny, or, like I've got the hair going in a weird direction. You can fix that. But can you change the color of someone's skin? No, you cannot. Can they change the way they talk in under 5 seconds? No, they can't. All of these things. And I think that that is a great rule that people should apply on the internet as well when it comes to commenting things. Women receive a lot of nasty comments online. I don't think that there are a lot of people out there commenting on men's voices online. But just because of, I don't know, the patriarchy or whatever it is, women are critiqued all the time. And so, one, if you're doing that, please stop. Two, I do leave it up because I feel like people need to see what women deal with. And then it also gives your real followers a chance to come back and interact and say, what are you talking about? This is a completely normal voice. I'll give one more example. This is very strange. I made a video about a laser cutter. I'm not going to go into this because it's slightly political, but it got into the conspiracy theory space. And I have had the most insane comments that you could ever imagine conspiracy theorists coming up with about lasers. Now, if you know anything about conspiracy theories, you might be able to make some connections on what might be lasers. What might people think about lasers? It's anti-Semitic. It's awful. However, I decided to keep them up because one, they kept coming and I deleted the first 10 of them. And then finally I started responding with my knowledge about lasers. I have enough knowledge about lasers and I finally got to the point where I was giving a little lecture, but it felt kind of good to be like, actually, that's not how lasers work, people. This is not going to work in the way that your crazy mind is thinking it's working. And I finally have some other comments of people going like, what is this person talking about? This is all crazy. But again, I left it up more because I was deleting a lot of very crazy comments on this, but two, because it kind of felt good. And I think sometimes speaking back to things feels good. And again, I try and do it as politely as possible, kill them with kindness, be slightly condescending, but in a really nice way. And that does make me feel a little bit better. And I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not going to say I'm going to sit here and just be perfectly nice because I think women are just taught to be polite and nice all the time. And people take advantage of that. And so when they have a woman speak back to them, sometimes it's a kick in the pants to be like, hey, you should not talk to me like that. And so you have to pick and choose. You can't fight back on everything. You have to pick it, maybe you have a bolder personality because there are some people out there who will just respond to every negative comment in the most hilarious way you've ever seen. And I think that is a completely valid way to do it. If that is your part of your brand, if that makes sense for your business. However, I think you really have to figure out what works best for you that doesn't eat you alive inside. I think that's really the key, is doing whatever works so that you're not thinking about it all night. You should be sleeping. Stop thinking about that mean comment on the internet.
So I'm going to give one last example of one that I probably will never stop thinking about. And this is one example of something I would not leave up. So it was a very long comment, paragraphs long. And it went into detail. So my wedding ring, we got married very young. It was this is the original wedding ring, so it means a lot to me. Could I afford something else at this time? Yes, but this means more to me than a more expensive ring. It was an attack about my wedding ring because it was in the video, because my hands are in the video crafting something, and an attack on my husband for not purchasing me a larger ring. Paragraphs long and a very long attack. And that was an example of something I'm not going to leave up. I am going to block you on. It was a YouTube comment. I blocked the person on YouTube. You're never going to see another one of my videos. I'm never going to let you into my space to do that again. So that's an example for me of like, you have went too far.
God, the audacity and the time. God, I wish I had time to write out an entire diatribe about something like that. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm busy living my life. Like, go get a hobby. Do
And
something.
it was a craft video unrelated to anything on my hands. Yeah, and it was an entire like attack on like why I would wear that. And I'm just like, that is not part of the video and none of your business.
Yeah, I think if it's completely unrelated to anything, yeah, bye. Or if it's just, I don't know, there's mean to be mean, and then there's like crude or obscene. There, I've gotten some of those. I also have gotten creepy dudes who are like, hey, could you wear a different shirt with a lower neck, or, things like that, where I'm just like,
No,
absolutely not. No, like anything that feels vaguely sexual or, provocative or anything like that, that is the fastest delete and a quick shower.
absolutely. Okay, so now that we've gotten through that really bad portion of the podcast, we are going to do something positive because we just told you for mindset to do something negative and positive. So we are going to take our commercial break now. This was intentional.
Like, let's just change gears.
All right, so the tickets for Crafting for Profit Camp are on sale right now. So our latest camp, and it is all about crafting for profit, which is also what this podcast is about. So you can grab your free ticket right now. It is going to be free, and it's October 9th through 11th. And we wanted to make sure that you didn't miss this one.
This is really great. If you are listening to this podcast, clearly you are probably interested in crafting for profit. This podcast was born out of this event. This is our 4th Crafting for Profit camp. This includes 40 classes, 20-something teachers, a bunch of giveaways, so much. There is so much to learn at camp. We give you snippets in the podcast of what you will learn at camp. So if you want, you can grab your free ticket. On the YouTube, Angie has put up the QR code, whichever way I'm pointing here. And you can also find the link down in the podcast notes.
So grab your free ticket, link.craftingcamps.com/CFP, and join us October 9th through 11th for tons of videos. I think there are like 40 videos.
I think it's 40 videos this time. It's a lot. This is probably our biggest Crafting for Profit camp so far.
This is a lot of information for free about starting and growing your handmade business, so don't miss it.
Yeah. All right. Now we have to go back to talking about negativity. Maybe we could just continue talking about camp, because we're going to actually start talking about how to turn negativity into growth. So there's some negativity that is only maybe going to make you grow as a person, and the fact that you didn't cuss this person out on the internet. Maybe that is your growth. But there are other ways to grow using some of the feedback you might get online. The first is to spot patterns. So if you are getting repeated comments about the same thing, and maybe they aren't worded the best, but it's making you feel uncomfortable, maybe you have some unclear communication, or maybe your pricing is, way different than market, or, there are places you can look if you're getting repeated comments. Don't take them all personally, but say, hey, okay, I've had like 6 comments recently on the pricing of these earrings. Let me take a look at my costs, what sort of comparative earrings are costing, that sort of thing. Just take a look, just to make sure that you are not completely off base.
And then you can use that information to like pre-answer those objections, either like in your listings or in your social posts. Like just go ahead and do a reel on why handmade isn't cheap. And that sort of answers the question for a lot of people. And bonus, when you get a negative comment the next time, you can point them back to that video and hopefully get a view on that video after they watch it.
Yeah, doing like a cost breakdown of how much it costs me to make this pair of earrings is really helpful for people. And again, you can point people back to it. You can also just publicly respond to negative comments, like by putting them in an Instagram reel. People do that all the time. It doesn't happen as much in the craft space, but if somebody's like, gosh, why are these so expensive? Put that little comment in the reel as you explain, here's why my earrings cost what they do. And I think videos like that do really, really well, because people, one, want to know, why they could buy it half price at Target and why it's costing so much more. But then again, they get to know you better. And something Target can't do is have a personal relationship with you. So anytime you can kind of speak to your customer like that and explain things, I think it's a good time.
That respond to comment feature on TikTok, and I'm pretty sure Instagram has it now. And I've heard, and I haven't done any, but I've heard that it actually like boosts your posts because you're interacting with your community as well. So just go ahead and respond to one of those comments, not if they're attacking you, but if they are actually asking something that maybe you can make a video about, do the respond to comment thing and make a reel about it.
Yeah. And if you don't want to respond to it in a reel, you could respond to it in a story, something that disappears. Like I might actually, if I had, like, this was 2 years ago, maybe when I got the voice comment, like I may have pulled that over from YouTube and like actually talked about it, like how harmful it is, these stereotypes of how women speak and how it, demeans women and all of these things. I could have done that in one of my stories and it probably would have gone over really well because my audience is mostly women. And so people are constantly being critiqued, those sorts of things. And I think other women like to hear, hey, there is nothing wrong with you. This is your voice. This is what is coming out of your mouth. And I think that even though that's not crafting, I think it would have been okay with my particular audience to address it.
And that type of content shows behind the scenes, but it also shows your background, your story, your values, that different types of things can be included in that content and just adds on to like your brand and just being more you online, which is what you want to be anyway.
Yeah. And it also breaks down stereotypes. It does other things like maybe I have a stutter and you don't know about it because I have it under control. I don't, but somebody who may comment on somebody's voice and they're like, actually, I have to work really hard to get past this stutter. That's educational on top of things. Like or maybe I'm hard of hearing or whatever it might be. There's other ways to bring in awareness of the reasons why we sound the way we do, that we look the way we do, all of these things that can be educational as well, even if they're not related to crafts.
And maybe, just maybe, it will reach the right person and make them reconsider their attitude online. So, all those reasons we talked about at the beginning that people can be bullies or haters online, maybe it'll make one to two of those reconsider and at least be a little bit nicer and hold back a little bit. Let's
Yeah,
just be
maybe.
honest. They're probably not going to change.
But maybe. I mean, there are things that I like in the past people have called me out on that I have changed my behavior because it's important to me to be a good human and be a good human online. And so if I say something that is accidentally hurtful or, something like that, where I didn't even mean or the way I came across was not great and somebody called me out on it, that was an opportunity for me to learn and grow. So while trolls are probably not looking to learn and grow online, maybe that guy who commented, maybe he was like, oh, I didn't realize men use vocal fry just as much as women, right? And maybe it made him think twice because I went and looked and basically all his videos were like comments about women's voices. And I'm like, dude, again, get a hobby. Like, this is not a hobby.
All right. So, because this episode was mentally taxing for both of us, we're going to talk about protecting your mental health in this next section. First of all, we've said it a few times, but digital boundaries are going to be so important here, no matter how large your following is. Digital boundaries are going to be important. You could have something go viral. And I feel like that's where a lot of this stuff comes up is when you have something go viral and you reach these people that you would not reach otherwise, and they leave these kind of comments. So set your digital boundaries ahead of time. Kind of know how you're going to handle these things. Think about different scenarios, and that way you're prepared. You might have, like I said, a copy and paste answer to a lot of like common questions about pricing, et cetera, et cetera. Even if some type of social media pushes your digital boundary too far, you might consider pulling back from it. Now, personal example for me is TikTok. The commenters are just mean, and I decided to protect my mental health. I do allow some of my videos to be posted there. We use a tool that sort of automatically posts them, but I don't engage and interact in the comments. For me, it's just not worth it. I tried for a while. I did try, but I just could not. Like, for some reason, the haters had me there. So, if any of social media is like that for you, perhaps your digital boundary is I'm just not going to participate in that platform.
And you have to remember that there are a lot of ways to make money online. I can guarantee you that both me and Angie make very little of our money from social media. And it's different for every business, but I think that the rule that you have to engage on Instagram constantly or you have to be on TikTok is not a rule. It's very flexible. Like we both, I mean, Angie posts a lot to Instagram. I post some to Instagram. I post very occasionally to TikTok, but like the ROI isn't there for either of us. And so we don't post there a lot. We just have figured out other ways to run our businesses that are better for our mental health. We have also been in this business a lot longer, so we have a lot to build up on that's not social media. But if something like I was saying, like I had been on Twitter for like 10 years, really enjoyed the space, didn't even use it for business that much, got some really, really terrible comments and just was like, peace out. I am protecting my mental health and my children. So I think having those boundaries is really important and just knowing when to say when. Maybe you need to turn off comments on your posts for a while, or maybe you need to just be like, I'm going on a hiatus and I'll be back in a month, and just take a break. It's not going to kill you forever. It's not going to ruin your business. Your mental health is the most important thing by far than anything else that we talk about on this podcast. You can run the best small business, but if you're running yourself into the ground or you want to hurt yourself because of something somebody said, it's not worth it. So yeah, just make sure that you have those boundaries, because you just don't want people hurting you in any way.
And be sure you know how to block people on whatever platforms you're on. So go ahead and just know that right now, because once that really hateful comment comes up, you're going to want to be able to block that person immediately before they make any more comments. So I've had people make comments on like multiple videos, just one right after another, after another, after another. That's the type of behavior that gets blocked immediately. Like, I'm not going to put up with that type of behavior.
Yeah, we don't want to reward that type of behavior. You're done. You're gone. All right. So here are some other practical tips. You can schedule your times to check your comments. I'm only going to spend 15 minutes here checking my comments. I'm not going to let this ruin my day. You can use filters. You can use auto moderation tools. Like anybody who uses this word, they can't leave a comment. And then, at some point you can hand off your social media. And we have done this actually with our help desk. Yes, like all of our email customer service. So for crafting camps, for crafting for profit, Angie and I don't look at your emails anymore. 95% of them are the nicest things we've ever received. 5% of them are not. And so we hired a team, and we have Susan who does that for us. And, sometimes she'll bring different comments to us being like, how do you want to respond to this? And that's fine, because it's not like, we're just going through the inbox and it pops up at us. She's like, I have something difficult we need to get through. But that for us was one of the first things we hired out, because even though customer service is not particularly difficult, it is really difficult when you're trying to build something beautiful and positive and exciting. And then there's people who are just being incredibly mean. Like, I need a refund because of something completely out of our control, and they're yelling at us, and it's just really awful. And at that point we were like, maybe we need someone else to do this for us. And that was probably one of the best decisions I think we made.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just the like you said, 95% of the people are very nice, and then you have that 5% that make you cry, and you have to decide for yourself and like your budgets if that 5% is worth outsourcing at any point in time.
Yeah, I think email is one of the first things I even outsource as my own business, just because one, it's not particularly fun to do. It's just like, okay. But two, it really can. It's one of the things that can drag you down, I feel like, the fastest. And having a third party do it who is not as close to the product as you are, who can respond without it feeling like they're attacking your baby, is really, really helpful.
And because we are who we are, we're going to talk about community in this. So build your community, build those people around you. Be able to text message a Corey George with this awful, awful comment, just so you can commiserate about it together. Like, I know the whole story of the lasers. So make sure you have your people that can support you, because that's going to save your mental health. Just being able to text that person, to message that person and say, hey, I have this really awful comment today. Like, here it is. And just for someone to say, oh my gosh, that is horrible. Just that reaction is enough.
Yeah. Or somebody to say, hey, your voice is completely normal, right? Or whatever it is. Or like, that was completely out of bounds. I would block that. Or, oh my gosh, I would totally respond this way. Like, you can kind of have like the brainstorming session about like, what do you want to do with this particularly vile comment?
I
And
don't even remember what the comment was, but there was one, and you were like, "Give me that name because I'm immediately blocking them as well." Like, it
yeah,
was like we just both blocked them. That's how toxic it was, and I don't even remember what the comment was,
I don't
but
remember.
it was just like, "Okay, we're both gonna do it."
Yeah, I'm like, if you're saying that to one of my best friends, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Are you
No.
getting access to anything I have to offer? And so, yeah, I think that just the camaraderie of like, and sometimes you're like, man, I wish I could say this. And it's like, maybe it's a swear laden answer and you just need to say it out loud to your bestie. And then you can let it go. You don't actually need to post it, right? It's like, okay, I got it out. Maybe you can write your response and delete it. You can write your response, put it on there, and then like 3 minutes later, delete the whole thing. It'll just like give you that sense of satisfaction of being like, it is not appropriate to do this, but then also, you don't even get access to me.
Yeah, you can write the responses in your head, and no one has to see it, and it will make you feel better.
It will make you feel better. I have definitely done the thing where I have actually posted my reply to them and then deleted their comment and my reply like 2 minutes later. And I'm like, I really hope they see the notification but can't access it. And that drives them crazy. I'm probably meaner than I should be, but honestly, I'm tired of being polite. So,
And then finally, our final bit of advice is just quick calming practices. We talked a little bit about this, about like reading the comment and then going to do something and then coming back to it. And that can look like deep breaths. I use the deep breaths often, a break, go do something else, come back, go read some positive comments, some positivity, then come back. If you journal, it can look like that. If you meditate, you can do some of that. Just whatever your practices are after that negativity, you might try basically inserting something calming to calm yourself down.
I've actually talked with my therapist about different comments I've received online and how to work to not let them have so much control over my mental peace. It's actually been several years since I've had a therapist, but when this happened, it was actually probably more than 5 years ago now. Literally walking into my therapy appointment, somebody said something really heinous online. And we spent basically the whole session talking about why does this stranger have so much access to my mental health, to my responses, to my time, and reframing it that way to be like, I don't even know this person. Like, why would I give them so much of myself and so much of my mental time thinking about them in the middle of the night and thinking about how to respond? They are a literal stranger who said something mean to me. Like, they don't deserve it. So spend your mental energy on building your business, on forging those communities, on spending time with your family, on doing a good job, on going out in nature, whatever it is. Like, don't give so much like air and time to trolls. It's just not worth your life.
Yeah, focus on those customers that are those positive customers. Focus on that 95% and deal with the rest of the people. So you're going to focus on those positive people. The main focus of your business should be, those people, those customers that are bringing that positivity into your life. But I mean, we're online. The drawback is we have to deal with the bullies, the haters, the negative comments.
Yeah.
All right. So if you've made it this far, thank you, first of all, for making it through this episode. So while negativity is normal, we hope you walk away from this episode with the tools you need to protect your creative energy and respond effectively or not respond. So know your blocking tools.
Yes. And know that you get to choose, right? You can or cannot respond. You can do both. And that's okay. You can make the own choices for what your business is going to be. Just don't let it rule your mind and your business. The main focus of your business should be on the people who love you, on your supporters and the passion that you have for it and your community and all of this. So don't let like those few negative voices like really get you down.
And finally, if you want to add a little positivity into our life, leave us a rate or review on this podcast because we like reading the positivity. So that's where we go when we want to see the positive comments. And if you know a fellow creative that has an online presence and might be dealing with some bullies, text them this episode right now so they can listen. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.